Welcome to Long Way From Home, a novel. Caught in a dilemma between rescuing his friend and keeping his job and family, George will have to make a hard decision. But what terrible price does he have to pay? George throws his family, his life, and his dreams away when he chooses to protect Pamela. They become fugitives and destined their lives to be on the run forever. But running away will not be the end of their problems. For one day they will have to face the truth and get back to where everything started. This is a compelling thriller novel that will take you on a perilous journey from Lebanon all the way to Europe. But will they ever be back? When will George's running away ever stop? Join me in this Long Way From Home podcast and dive into an unforgettable journey that will keep you at the edge of your seat until the very last page of the novel. And now let's begin. Chapter 1. I was on the same 15-minute walk back home from the office without realizing this would be the longest journey back home from the office I ever took for the past 5 years of my employment in Rashidi Software Company. I was pacing the way to get back home to my projects and dreams after a long day full of nonsense and long, meaningless late meetings. I was walking down the road I fancied to be one of those country roads I dreamed of passing through every day, with trees from both sides that shade you from the scorching sun, and the breeze passing through this tunnel-like road, and you in the middle of all of it walking towards the bright unknown. But it was night, and I was tired, walking like a robot in the middle of the street infested by the too many cars parked on both sides of the road that almost had no green left. I was right in the middle of the way when I realized I had forgotten the one thing I would go back to the office for, my phone. My phone was still sitting on my desk in the middle of my cubicle haven. Mine came no short of daydreaming and fantasizing. I even called it Polly. I didn't get to see the grandeur of our office building at night because I always left on time. It was a grand, luxurious building, as all software companies should look from the outside. The new lights they installed on the new logo sign last year looked great, but I still couldn't tell the difference between the old logo and the new one. I was all about computer software, and I had no way to know the dramatic difference between serif and sans serif. I was reaching for my card in my jacket pocket, but the security guard was at the open door. The last thing I wanted was having to come back after a long day. I left my phone upstairs, Omar. How come you're still here? Don't you leave at 5? Omar did not like my reminding him of having to stay late to cover for the other night guy. Yeah, sir. I'm replacing Fatty tonight. It's 7:30, so I still have an hour and a half to leave. How many times do I have to tell you not to call me sir? My name is George. Easy, just George. Okay, Mr. George. Omar smiled as he let me in. I jumped 3 steps at a time up the stairs to the first floor where the cubicles I belonged to resided. I headed to my cubicle and found my phone right where I left it on my desk. There was nobody else in the office. Everybody had already gone, and everything was dormant except for the red blinking light of my computer power button and the faint sound of my squeaky hard drive still running. I checked my phone for messages or emails as if I were waiting to receive anything significant other than the usual daily junk sent by the innumerable mailing lists I registered into. As I slid my phone in my jacket pocket, I had already covered the long corridor leading to the lobby that divided the floor into 4 wings, 3 technical and 1 administrative. I opened the door to take the stairs back down, and I was in my usual rush, but the hustling sound of my outfit and shoes did not cover the bump I was sure I heard coming from the kitchenette side that lay at the elevator's end. I stopped and listened again to see if it was just a figment of my imagination, but the sound turned to something more like a muted human voice. A female's voice. I started towards the kitchenette, and the voices got louder with every step. There was a man's voice muttering some incomprehensible words. The voices seemed muffled as if coming from behind a closed door, but the kitchenette had no doors. I kept coming closer and thought for a second to call Omar, but I heard of some work the administrative people would do from time to time after hours, I wanted to make sure first what I was getting myself into. I would leave them be if it was only after our games. The kitchenette was dark when I leaned across to see if there was anybody inside, but by the time I reached the kitchenette, I already knew where the voices were coming from, and I could tell who the man inside the ladies' room was. The ladies' room was just down the hall from the kitchenette. The door was closed. The bumping sounds among others and the muffled voices combined drew a clear picture in my head. It was not the after-hours fun I imagined. The other player did not seem to like the game at all. I was by the door and I already realized it was Mr. Rashidi's voice, our revered company's president and owner. However, it was not until I got close to the door when I realized it was Pamela's voice. Pamela was Mr. Fawzi Rashidi's secretary, but this was not Mr. Rashidi's office where I would have acted as if I hadn't seen or heard anything. And the words crystallized by the door to what made me bust the door open even without Omar's help. "Let me go, please. I wouldn't tell anybody, I swear, and I will never come back to work here again. You will never see me again. Just let me go, please." Pamela's tone was uncommon but unmistakable. "Where would you go, my love? I have a life for you here. I will give you anything you want. You won't need to work anymore. You can come and go any time you want. Nobody will dare say anything to you. I will just need you to stay late now and then. That shouldn't be hard for the likes of you, should it? I am not a needy man, and don't worry, you're not the only one." "Please, Mr. Rashidi, I don't want this. Please let me go." "You will love it. Come on, just give it a go. You've never been with a Rashidi before. You won't regret it." The old man was at the door when I busted the door open as he was blocking it to hold poor Pamela inside. Pamela ran behind me and Mr. Rashidi was getting up on his feet when I saw his zipper was open, and judging by his age, the old man must have taken the pill, or even two. "We will just go, sir. I'm taking Pamela with me. Stay calm and do not do anything we will both regret," I said with one arm surrounding Pamela, who stuck herself to my back, and the other hand telling the old man to stop. "Who the fuck are you to lecture me? It's none of your business. Leave the girl and be on your way, or forget about you even have a job here." "Do you think I care about the job or working for you, you old fuck? I'm leaving with the girl, and you'd better stay still." My fist tightened and I was ready to punch the old scum. "Don't you know who I am and what I can do to you both? If you step out of this door, your lives are over, especially yours, George. And don't even think you can say a word about what you saw here that people will believe. You do not understand what I will do to you and to your family." Mr. Rashidi turned one side to the wall as he was talking, but I noticed he was reaching out to something tucked in the back of his pants. I didn't want to wait and see what he must have grasped in his hidden right arm by then. I jumped at him and pushed him back as hard as I could. Everything was so quick, and I did not mean for him to hit the wrong part of the wall where the protruding metallic joint was at the corner. The blood that flowed and the motionless old man on the floor brought my breath to a dead halt. The first thing I did after what seemed to be ages of motionlessness was taking a deep breath as if I had just gone out of the water after a stupid breath-holding contest. It must have been a minute or two before I stepped closer to the old man lying on the floor in a big pool of his own blood to check if he was still breathing. I was sure I would not find any life left in him. The sound of his head bashing against the wall was too loud to hospitalize the man, but I wished for some miracle. He was not breathing, and as I checked his pulse, there was nothing to give me any hope. But I could see what he was trying to reach out for, as his gun was still in his cold right hand, stretching to the right side of his body. I turned around to see Pamela mesmerized, with horror overcoming her eyes, and she looked at me in disbelief. It all happened too fast for either of us to even try to understand what just happened. "Calm down, Pam," I said as I wrapped my arms around her, expecting to carry her at any moment. She was so pale, and I could feel her slim body weighing a lot more than it should in my arms. "Pam, stay with me. We have done nothing wrong. You have done nothing wrong. Calm down. But we have to think and do something about this. Just calm down." I could feel her whole body shaking in my arms. I saw my hands shake, but I had to think of a way out of all this, and I knew what calling the police in my country meant. The people I could not trust the most were the police, especially with a man like Fawzi Rashidi. I killed the man whose least influential friend could piss at the police chief's face and had him convinced it was raining. Come on, Pamela. We cannot stay here. We need to leave now. Let's call the police. She took a long time and a significant effort to say that, but I was sure she could see the look in my eyes telling her we could not do that. I sighed and stood there with both my hands placed on her shoulders and said, "You know we cannot do that. Who will believe us? Don't you know who that man was?" Pamela did not say a word. I didn't know if it were because she knew I was right or if she was thinking of a way out of this whole mess. But she was still pale, and the expressionless face she had did not reveal what was going on in her mind. "Listen, I will get you some water. Stay here. I'll be right back." "Don't leave me here alone with him." She was horror-stricken, looking at the motionless body on the floor and the expanding pool of blood. "Let me check if anyone heard this. Stay where you are." I didn't want her to move as I knew she would pass out, and now that my sense flashed back on me, I wanted to see if there was anybody outside. I opened the door and closed it as quietly as I could. I turned around to go to the kitchenette to get Pamela a glass of water when I could see nothing. The flashlight was pointed right into my eyes.